there are people that say that they're that kind of individual a lot. And there are a lot of people that want to be that. You know, almost everybody in our business is kind of obsessed with being real and authentic. It don't get no more real and authentic than that, Bubba.
If I went back and told 21-year-old Brantley that in 15 years he would have several platinum #1 songs, married with 2 kids, which one would have been more surprising?
Oh, I think wife and kids.
Really?
For sure. Yeah, but both of them might have probably called you crazy and tried to fight you, but that was just kind of my deal back then. It was 15 years ago. We were still drinking.
So you never really thought you'd be settled down with the kids?
No, man. Honest to God, there was a point in my life where, man, I wanted to be a biker. And I was comfortable with that. I liked the people in that culture and like what it meant and what it was. And the idea of being able to be wherever you want to be at any time. But when I stopped drinking, man, when I got sober, a lot of things changed, and I realized that like I wasn't prioritizing any of the things that I was raised to prioritize, like being a good husband, being a good dad one day. That wasn't. I figured my God kids were the closest thing I'd ever have to kids, and I was all right with that. But just we're talking about the same time frame that I didn't think legitimately. Now this is true thought. You hear a lot of people say this, but there's in my mind and in my heart, I believed it, probably I'd go in my early 30s if I made it to 30. You know, I just didn't think I was going to be here a long time.
Speaking of your kids, what do you see in your son that like is you?
Oh man, you know he has a little fire in him from time to time. I got to get a little more grit in him. My boy's soft hearted. He really is. He just got a kind, like genuine little heart, man. And as much as I love that, we got to rub some dirt on him a little bit. 'Cause, you know, this world ain't no joke, man. Nobody's in a hurry to do you favors, and it'll chew him up and spit him out like that. So, but my favorite part about him is his heart, man. I mean, I love everything about him, but as much as I love it, we got to change that a little bit. My daughter, on the other hand, will probably run a criminal organization in kindergarten. Like she's a straight up little gangster. If you ask her what you say to the police, she says, "I want my lawyer." If you ask my son, he tells you, "I do not recall." My wife hates it with a passion. She hates it.
What are you worried about? Like in like 10 years when they can Google, like are you worried about what they'll find out, like about your past? Or is your wife worried?
I imagine she's concerned. We actually hadn't. We should probably talk about that. But no, I've talked about this pretty often. That was one of the hardest parts for me about when I really thought about, okay, this is real. I got a kid coming. Yeah, as soon as they're old enough to read, they're going to be privy to some. Or, I mean, even understand some things. People, you know how people are. Mm-hmm. People love to tell crappy stories. Of not so proud moments.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, man, I had to quit worrying about it. I have a bad habit about worrying about things that hadn't happened, and just wasting time worrying. I think at the end of the day, man, it's going to give me an opportunity to have a real conversation with them. Now, my kids are going to know some things about their dad earlier than most kids. Most kids never hear those stories about their dad. And that's kind of on me, man, because I've been the what you see is what you get guy. And people ask me questions, and I tell them the truth. And so a lot of those stories came from me. And to be honest with you, is that some of them are they things that I'm proud of? Like, absolutely not. But at the same time, I think it's going to rob them a little bit of innocence and thinking their dad's a hero and stuff. But I'm okay with that, man, because I think it's going to give me an opportunity to show them at an early age how imperfect I am, and how looking up there is probably a safer bet. I want to be the man that honeymooned to my son and my daughter. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's a bad thing that they're going to know early that I'm not perfect.
Okay, so your new album, So Help Me God, it kind of came out without an announcement, like a surprise. What's the reason for that?
Man, why not? We'd been waiting years now to release an album, and Man, we went on every year. We go to Texas with Hardy, Will Weatherly, Brock Berryhill, the Phillips boys, Brent Tyler. I mean, it's just a laundry list of the guys that are Randy Montana, a laundry list of the guys that are really killing it right now here. And man, we've got those trips are a week long. We got 2 of those under our belt worth of songs, and I'm kind of a song hoarder, meaning, man, that's been probably one of the worst habits of my career. Is I hog songs and I don't pitch them because I think I'm going to cut all of them. You know, in my mind, we're going to release 16 records this year, like, you know, and not knowing that's not possible, realistic. But man, I would like to get something else out. We're planning on doing a lot next year. Jelly Roll let it slip the other night that we're actually working on an EP, if not a whole record right now together. I know he's got a project that he's coming with around the first of the year. We are too. So there's a lot in the windshield for next year.
Tell me how you linked up with Jelly Roll and tell me about that relationship.
Dude, neither one of us can remember exactly how it happened.
That sounds about right.
But I can tell you the first song I heard of his was a song called Fall in the Fall. It was him and Struggle. And I loved that song. I loved the way it was written. I loved what it said. Loved that it was unapologetic about, you know, what it was, just the song itself. And I had heard that he was a real dude, right? But guys like us recognize each other in the room.
Uh-huh.
And when I met him, it was like, okay, like, immediately, this dude's real. Really
yeah,
good.
like in my opinion, as soon as you get a face tat, like you're for real. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the next level. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I saw him, I was like, he's all in, real deal.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, there are people that say that they're that kind of individual a lot. And there are a lot of people that want to be that. You know, almost everybody in our business is kind of obsessed with being real and authentic. It don't get no more real and authentic than that, Bubba. He's telling you stories that are true, that are uncomfortable to tell, that make other people in the room. When you ask about his story, you sit in the room. Some people, you know, they get uncomfortable, and I can relate to that. My story makes people uncomfortable, but the dude's putting it all out on the table. He's writing songs about things that people don't have conversations about. He's talking about things that aren't easy to talk about. He's talking about addiction, man. He's talking about like growing up in the streets, and this dude really did. You know, he's a gigantic white dude that knows everything. You know, but he's a street guy.
Yeah,
no joke.
yeah.
And I have a mad respect for that, right?
Yeah.
This dude made something and then something of himself, without really having any kind of road paved for him. This joker cut a trail through the woods to get here. You know what I mean? And I got respect for that. I don't feel like anybody can take anything from him.
Yeah, if you two were a Jeopardy question, it would be like 2 guys I wouldn't want to see in an alley. Brantley Gilbert, Jelly Roll.
I'd probably just ask you if you was lost.
Yeah.
You know how to get out of this alley, bro? Man, me and Jelly been stuck here for hours.
But let me ask, so Jelly Roll is kind of genre bending in the sense that he does rock and country, but then you're on tour with Five Finger Death Punch, who is not country. So where does that end? Like, are you going to keep going on tour with rockers or country or both?
I think we're going to keep mixing it up, man. Post-COVID touring is a little bit weird. And, you know, man, we've always known where we belong when it came to this genre, right? As long as there was a box, we belonged right on the outside of it. You know, safe distance. We could reach out and touch it if we needed to try to get something on radio and a song for mainstream country folks. But, I mean, let's be honest. Stylistically, on all my records from the beginning, there's R&B vibes, there's hip-hop vibes, there's rock vibes. You can find a little bit of everything. I've always been a guy that listened to a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. But
I write about my life. So I grew up in a small town. You know, I did shit jobs, worked farms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I'm a country dude. That's really the only life I know. About being country and being around a little bit of biker world. And, you know, like I said, I don't really write songs about anything I'm not knowledgeable about, right? And that I hadn't lived in. So there's no other thing it can be than country. right? But you can call it Southern rock or whatever. Man, I just think it's music,
Yeah.
right? And I like songs, especially right now. The way people are consuming music, man. Um, it's a song at a time at best. Like I feel like we don't have a lot of room to try to turn songs into something else. Because there was a time, and you can hear this on my records, on my albums. You go back and there was a time when we tried to take a song that had a lot of hip hop influence or a lot of rock influence, and we tried to make it really country, and it came across as apologetic. And I'm not gonna make that mistake anymore. Cause it's like now the way people listen to music, if a song's a rock song, by God, let's bring the freaking guitars and let's go to work.
Okay.
You know, if it's got a
Yeah.
hip hop vibe, and you're gonna hear trap pat. And if you hate it, you know, you got a lot of people right now that are saying, like, in defense of Jelly, they'll listen to his old stuff. It's he's a rapper. And dude, he is. He's Jelly Roll. Is what he is. He's an artist. He sings. He can rap. The dude can do a lot. You know what I mean? And people talking about there's no room for rap in country. There's no room for rock in country. I mean, what are you? You got a PhD in your opinion?
Right.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, music's music. If you don't like it, there's a volume button or a power button.
Yeah.
Skip it. Kick rocks, you know? But, yeah, man, I actually enjoy that about music right now. You know, and I feel like Jelly Roll's leading the charge for a whole, like, man, there's a whole underground movement that a lot of mainstream folks have no idea that exists. And I'm talking about the world of freaking your Adam Calhouns and your Tom MacDonalds and your Upchurches. And I mean, these guys that are very much alive and well on social media, but still kind of kept hush hush on the mainstream side of things. I feel like Jelly's opening up roles for them, you know, rooms for them too. And that's, man, it's a cool time in music to me. I like when shit gets shook up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you can't stay in your little comfort zone when stuff starts shaking. You either got to be something and be about it, or, you know, you go away.